How many jackhammers have you gone through?
At least 10.
10 jackhammers. How much do they cost each?
I usually get the cheap, non-branded jackhammers, so they're around $100, $150 each.
And we're back with Vice Culture Club. We got a really interesting one on today. We have Kayla, the engineer from TikTok, that's been building a tunnel underneath her house.
The tunnel system under my house carries stress from the footings above, and the government wants to know how much. Productivity in my suburban mine is back in high gear. Meanwhile, back in the mine, I am in a hole and I need to dig myself out.
Super interesting stuff. I've been following for 2 or 3 years now. It's fascinating. She's basically doing Minecraft in real life. She's just digging a tunnel underneath her house. Tons of rocks. She's gone through jackhammers. She's figuring out problems as she goes. I'm fascinated. So are a bunch of people online wondering, is it safe? The government has shut it down at times. She's reopened it at times through the government. I'm super interested in asking her all these burning questions on what she's up to. So here she is. All right. So we've got Kala on from Engineer Everything on TikTok. Kala, I've been following you for a long time. It's been very rewarding to watch your journey, and I wanted to hear from your words how you got famous on TikTok, or like why people follow you.
Well, I think my content taps into a desire that people have for figuring out how the world works and coming up with solutions for problems, and just trying to do like hobbyist engineering. I know that there's a huge Minecraft community, and that's sort of similar. You go into a uninhabited wasteland, and then you just start mining and crafting and figuring out how things work and building creations. So I take that same sort of Minecraft mentality and I do it in the real world.
I mean, the biggest thing that grabbed me the first time I ever saw you, we talked about with the coworkers, we were talking about like my friends, that you've been building this tunnel underneath your basement, essentially, right? It started as one project, but now it's a full deep tunnel. Tell me about the tunnel here.
Well, that started in 2022. Actually, I had thought about it for a couple of years prior. During the pandemic, I had a lot of time to sit on my hands and think about stuff that I'd like to do. And I was like, I would really like to mine under the ground just a little bit, see how it is, make a little extra space on my house, and then have the exercise and the mental challenge and the interest of learning a lot of new techniques and technologies. And so I started in August of 2022, and it turned out that mining was fun. So I kept going.
Now, it started as just a normal basement, right, in your house. And now where are we at now? How deep is the tunnel? Like, how much rock has been moved? How would you measure it? How would you describe the tunnel?
Well, the tunnel goes off the sub-basement of my house. The sub-basement is already 14 feet below surface. And the tunnel itself is about 80 feet of passageway that goes down around 33 feet below grade.
33 feet. All right. It feels like you've kind of like you were talking about Minecraft a second ago. It feels like you basically took the skills and the gameplay from Minecraft and took it into the real world. I mean, we've all like thought about it, but you really did the free will. Like, how did you decide that you could take that from video game world into the real world?
Yeah, I love challenges. It keeps me interested and entertained. I had previously built a large addition on the backside of my house, and there was a lot of challenge with that, building the foundation, constructing the walls, designing the mechanical system and the electrical system and the plumbing. I did all the plumbing myself, and it kept me busy, but then it was done. And I was like, I need another challenge to sink my teeth into.
Do you have like a background in engineering? Like, how did you find the confidence? Like, I wouldn't know where to start with building a whole tunnel or a castle or any of the things you've been doing lately.
Yeah, I work as a software engineer, and one thing about software engineers is we have a lot of ego, and it's like we are used to uh, revolutionizing the world one technology at a time, one industry at a time. So we tend to have the confidence to say, "Hey, let's take that software engineering iterative mindset and apply it to lots of other things outside of software engineering." Not always a great idea, but we have the confidence to do that.
So you went from software engineering to physical engineering. Like, how did you know that the calculations? How did you know what to do? How did you feel confident it wasn't just going to cave in on you?
Well, I read a lot of books, a lot of articles, a lot of engineering manuals, and did a lot of trial and error to see how the rock performs with different situations. And uh, I tend to overbuild and over engineer and over design because of my lack of experience, right? That is the number one value of having a professional engineer design a structure is they know how to get you the minimum specifications to meet expected conditions at, at the lowest cost.
I've heard about that with engineering, that you don't get your degree to learn how to build the strongest structure. You learn how to make the most minimal structure that doesn't fall apart.
Right, correct. So, since I don't have that level of experience, I just compensate by overbuilding. It's more expensive, but that way I can avoid some of the risks.
Now, a big part of this is, people, there might be other people like you, who knows, that are building tunnels under their houses or mining under their house or any of that, but they're not recording it like you do. You have like a very interesting style of recording. What was it like to start recording? What was the first viral moment you had on TikTok?
Well, I started recording, and the primary purpose for doing so was for myself to look back because I grew up before social media, especially before video based social media. And a lot of the things that I did growing up, or even the projects that I did like 10 years ago, there's not much documentation. There may be a few pictures, but it's hard to explain them to people who are not familiar with that time in my life. And so I was like, I would really like to. I'm seeing everybody, especially during the pandemic. I downloaded TikTok app during the pandemic, and I had my eyes open to all these different people and hobbyists following their dreams and documenting it for like-minded people. But especially, I'm like, they're leaving a legacy. They can show these videos to their children in the future. They can look back and say, oh yeah, this is what I was working on in my 20s. So I thought, I should do a project from beginning to end and document it on TikTok. Maybe some like-minded people might enjoy the journey, but the main purpose is for myself so that I can go back and say, well, this is neat. This is what I was working on previously. So I started posting. I cut the door into my foundation wall and started carving into the rock. And there were a few people coming and leaving comments here and there, but not a lot. That changed my first slightly viral video. At the time, it was hugely viral to me. Was I was trying to figure out how to install a welder outlet so that I could fabricate my elevator that I used to get all the rock to the surface. So I was working on that welder outlet. I didn't have any experience with electrical. And I'm just doing a simple outlet replacement, right? But I'm kind of doing it very badly. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not following the codes properly. It seemed like a very simple task, just replacing one outlet and putting another one in. And it went viral among electricians. So you had like all the electricians in the country just trashing me and saying that I'm going to burn down my house or I did a terrible job with this. I got a lot of really good comments, though, that helped me correct deficiencies in that outlet. And that was my first taste of using the community to get valid inputs to help correct things that I may not be doing the safest or the best way.
I find it fascinating that I just assumed your background was some sort of like physical engineering. And so to hear that you've experimented with electricity, you've experimented with how to build tunnels. I know there was water issues, there was jackhammer issues, and like so much of the reaction as you're explaining there is that like people are commenting like that's their hobby or that's their industry, and you're like figuring it out. And there's like half of them are supportive, half of them wants you to figure it out, and the other half is like yelling at you like, please stop, you're not doing it right. Like, do you feel like it's been mostly supportive? Do you feel like people are really concerned about safety?
I would say 3/4 are supportive. 1/4 is loudly not supportive. But most of the people who are in the industry and have experience with this do tend to be supportive because they see that the approach that I'm taking is very open-minded to getting constructive criticism and very open-minded to trying to figure out how to do things better, right? I may be overconfident, but I'm not arrogant. And I value inputs from people who have more experience than I do and say, no, you should consider this, or you should try that, or you should read this. And I use that to improve my process.
What is a part of this process that you were surprised how hard it was going to be, or like something that you do feel like you maybe were overconfident in?
Well, the welder outlet was one. I was totally overconfident with that, and I learned that electricity was a lot more involved than I had thought it was. I'm just like, oh, it's just connecting up wires, right? How hard is it to make a circuit? And then I started getting into the codes and reading the National Electrical Code, and then reading various books and manuals on how to do proper wiring. And I'm like, there's a lot involved in this and doing it safely and correctly. So that was a challenge. The other challenge is removing the rock. That takes a lot of time. Getting all the overburden, all the rock that I'm extracting out of the tunnel, getting it into the mine cart, driving the mine cart up a ramp, dumping it into my fabricated elevator that I use to get it to the surface, and then getting it into the dumpsters. I've been using dumpsters to remove the rock because it is less disruptive on the neighborhood. It's very clean. You just put the rock in the dumpster and then they take it away.
What did your neighbors think when you first moved the dumpster in to start having all these rocks? Did they come over and knock on your door, or are you friends with them? Or
I talked to the neighbors from time to time. Nobody brought it up.
Nobody brought it. I mean, I've watched your videos. How many dumpsters have you gone through in the last 2 or 3 years of rocks?
Approximately 14.
14 dumpsters. I know that was like a big concern for you in a lot of the videos, is that you have to keep them for too long, or you want to do these big pushes so you get as much rock out as possible. And no one said anything at all, because that's one of the most interesting parts of this, is watching some people in the comments. Some are supportive, like you said, and others are trying to figure out where your address is so they can report on you. Like, it feels like there's been, I don't know if you've like noticed the people that are trying to dox you, or like how that all ended up.
Yeah, a lot of that was people online that have a lot of free time.
And then how did it end up? Yeah, the government eventually came in, right, and said you got to get some permits.
Yes, they did.
What was that process like?
It was long and difficult, but helpful. I am very, very thankful that the local jurisdiction has been very cooperative. They've been working with me. They have put up a lot of roadblocks and difficulties, but nothing that is impossible to overcome with due diligence.
I mean, I've been following you for years now, and I felt like a great pang of success for you so it got shut down. It seemed like around a year or so, right, to get your permit, but you succeeded. You've got the permit. You say, like, I think there's so many people in the comments, maybe the fourth you're talking about, they're like, she's doing it wrong. They were scared about it or whatever, but you figured it out. You've done it the right way now. And it seemed, do you feel accomplished?
Yes, I do. That was a great success. I had worked with a team of engineers and from like geotechnical engineers, structural engineers with experience with underground structures. I worked with different like materials testing companies to test various parts of my project, and everything passed with flying colors. That all of the engineers that looked at it were like, yeah, this is really well built and really professionally built, and we don't have any problem signing off on this. So with all that information, I was able to come back to the city and say, look, this was done properly, and I've got all these engineering certificates to prove it. And so then they reviewed all the plans, all the documents. They submitted it to a third party engineering company that has even more experience than my local jurisdiction. And they looked over everything. They came up with a lot of comments and concerns and questions. They weren't really with the structure, the way that things were built. It was more just documentation and paperwork and proving that all the calculations meet commonly known engineering standards. And with all that, yeah, it worked out. They came back and said, yeah, it looks like this is pretty good. We'll go forward with that.
You seem to enjoy the process of learning, the process of trying these tests and learning something. You've learned about how to build the tunnel each way down the line, how to be an electrician, how to build the tunnel, and then you've had to figure out the legalese. What did you learn during that process of the legalese of, like, I don't know, I've heard of sky rights, I've heard of mineral rights, I've heard of, like, there's a lot of interesting parts of the law when it comes to what you can do with your own property. Is there any, like, interesting tidbits you found out?
Well, I think that the most interesting discovery that I made going through the process is that a lot of what appear to be regulatory roadblocks are actually passable if you go and get the right analysis, right? So a lot of times people will try to build something on their property and they'll come back and say, well, we've got watershed issues. You can't do that. Or you've got environmental issues. You can't do that. And a lot of people just give up there. But there are engineering companies that have experience in those areas, and you can go and have studies prepared. You can come up with mitigation plans, and there's a lot of things that you can do with your property if you go through the proper channels and you provide evidence that what you're doing isn't going to impact neighboring properties, not going to impact the environment, and it's not going to be a safety problem, right? So I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize that, and the government or regulatory agencies don't do a great job educating people in how they need to pass roadblocks. And that was the number one challenge that I had going through the paperwork process, is no one on the city side said, you need to hire this engineer and you need to put together this document with these specifications in it. It was just like, we don't see sufficient geotechnical analysis. Well, what specifically do you need in geotechnical analysis, right? So the government doesn't typically walk you through step by step how to go through the permit process. And that's something that I also discovered that's fairly interesting.
Did you figure out how deep you can go? Could you just keep going as long as you wanted to, as long as you could prove that it's safe? Like, what's the limit here?
I don't know. I got approval to where I currently am, which is around 32 feet below ground. I plan to apply for an extension or another permit to go even further down. And I don't know if at some point they might be like, this doesn't make sense for a residential project. This doesn't make sense for your stated use of storage or wine cellar or whatever I'm using it for. And it becomes more problematic if it were to be deemed a mine, which it's not. It's not. It's just it's not that different than a typical wine cave or a bunker that many people construct under their houses. But at some point, if it exceeds that, there may be additional questions that may be raised that could cause problems.
So you have to tell them why you're building the tunnel. You can't just build the tunnel?
Correct.
And so, like, right now, which you tell the government is you're building a wine cave. Is that right? Or is there like other like objectives you could say if you wanted to go deeper, or like things you might want to do in the future?
I suppose so. I kept it as like a storage cellar, which is correct. That's what I'm going to use it for, is for storage.
How far do you want to go? Like once you get past this, like what's the future? What that's what people want to know online, honestly, that I've noticed is people are like, where is she going? Like what is the purpose?
Yeah, if I can get approval, I would like to build a large room down there, around 40 feet below ground, sort of in my backyard area, and just use it for storage or even like a small workshop. Again, I'm not that much focused on the objective or the end. I'm enjoying the process, enjoying learning things, enjoying the exercise. I've been in a lot better shape than when I started the project. And my brain is in better shape with all the mental challenge. And it's very enjoyable.
How do you find time for it? Is it like between your current job and this? It feels like a full-time job.
I work late. Usually I start right after 5 o'clock and I work until midnight sometimes.
How many jackhammers have you gone through?
At least 10.
10 jackhammers. How much do they cost each?
I usually get the cheap, non-branded jackhammers, so they're around $150 each.
Jackhammer is more affordable than I would have assumed. Do you think so part of this is it's a hobby for you, an experience, but like how much more do you think you've spent doing it yourself than it would have been to just hire a crew to do this?
For things that are very niche or specific, you have to hire very niche and specific companies, and they tend to do bespoke projects for multimillionaires. So it would probably cost several million for this project if I had a specialized company do it from end to end. Where for me, it costed a little over $100,000.
They cost $100,000 to build this tunnel.
Yes.
And it's for storage.
Yes.
But was it worth it?
Yes, very much.
That's crazy. $100,000. I guess I was about to say you could buy a house for that, but not these days. Yeah, but you might have expanded your house. Do you think it made your house more desirable on the market one day?
I don't think so. It's possible. It's possible that it would make people more interested in buying it, but I doubt that it would increase the property value much because house values in my area in Northern Virginia tend to be only square footage of the house, which is above ground, and your property size and your location. That's about it. You can make all the improvements that you want to your house, but unless it's adding to those characteristics, it doesn't do much to change the value.
I could say, I feel like I could already see it now. Like 20, 30, 40 years from now, you've decided to move or something, and somebody decided just to seal up your tunnel. And then like 20, 30 years from now, whatever new social media app there is, someone's going to find out there's a tunnel there. Some kid is going to be playing in the basement or something, and they knock through a wall. It's like all those TikToks.
That's the plan. If I were to sell the house, I would probably seal it over with like a bookcase or a cabinet of some sort. And I would make it so that if you pull some sort of lever or you do something that curious kids might try, then it would open up and it would be a big surprise.
I know you also do a lot of other projects. Can you describe any of your other projects you do?
Well, I am planning on building a castle facade on the outside of my house. So I've been splitting rocks at an above ground quarry, and that has been a big project that I've been doing over the years. I started that during the time that I was shut down with the tunnel and needed to go through the permit process. I was like, I have a lot of time and a lot of energy. What should I do? And I got really lucky because there was a local construction site where they had all these boulders, huge boulders that are in the way for them because they're planning on building office buildings and residential apartments. and they've got all these rocks everywhere. So I stop by and ask them and say, hey, could I have some of those rocks? And they're like, sure. So last year, I spent the summer learning how to split and shape and move rocks and boulders. So I've been accumulating a very large stockpile of building blocks that I plan to use to add a tower onto my house as well. Because not only should my house have a tunnel, but it needs to have a tower as well.
Do people recognize you in public? Do they ever like ask you, like, what's the most common question you get asked when you get recognized?
Mostly they'll like hold up a picture of me on their phone and say, is this you?
What about in your comment section? Do they ever like, what do you feel like the people are most curious about?
People are most curious about why. That's the number one question. Why? Why are you doing this? And my answer is usually, why not?
It seems like that same way with the government. You were complaining the government doesn't like kind of tell you what you can do. It'll tell you what you can't do, but it's not helping you at all with like what you are allowed to do. And you seem to be the kind of person that is more apt to say why not instead of why.
Correct.
Have you heard of the Eel Pit guy?
Yes, I have.
What do you think about the Eel Pit guy? I feel like everybody wants you guys to meet.
I would love to meet him. He seems like a very interesting person. He's got like this giant water cistern under his house, and he's raising these fish and these eels down there, like the kind of fish that don't need sunlight. So he's been storing them down there, and it's a neat little ecosystem under his house. I'd love to do something like that in my tunnel.
Have you guys communicated at all?
No, we follow each other, but we haven't communicated.
So if I set up a meeting with you two to talk about like these kind of questions of why not instead of why, you'd be open to that?
Sure.
Okay, all right. I might have to put that together in the future.
That would be fun. That would be super fun.
Yeah. Well, I've been told that I can get a tour here, that our audience can see the tunnel itself. You think we can make that happen?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, we're in the tunnel.
We're in the tunnel.
All right. Are you good to go on your end?
Yep, everything's good. Yep.
All
so
right.
this is the entrance tunnel. I can't go out there because again I'm going to have router issues. But that is my sub-basement at the end. And we go down. This is approximately a 33% slope. So we go down about 7 feet from the base of the sub-basement down to this room, which I call the antechamber. And there is a sump pit under there for water management. And there's drainage pipes all around that feed into that.
Because you had water issues originally, right? Like that it was flooding and you had to figure that out as well.
Yes, and you'll see a little bit of that in the lower section. So this is the antechamber. So when you're coming down the entrance tunnel, you have this. I call it an antechamber. It's really just a landing. It's a small room that then we turn around and we go down to the lower section. The lower section is currently under construction. This goes down another 6 feet. And you can see there is water at the bottom. A little bit.
All right.
And under this board is another very large sump pit that goes around 3 feet. And
What number jackhammer is that? How many deep are you in jackhammers right now?
this is probably 11 or 12. And so the plan is for this section of the tunnel, this is the lower section, is I'm going to pour a staircase in here because per code, you can't really have a ramp with as steep as I made it. So it has to be stairs. And I'm going to put in a drained pipe down the center, and that's going to go into the sump pit. And then put a little bit of gravel, and then place the rebar and pour the staircase up to the landing over there. Actually going to start laying rebar as soon as we're done with this call.
How many hours a week do you think you work on this?
Probably around 20.
20. Wow.
But
Do you ever wish you were born in like a different era where you could just do whatever you wanted in a mine? Like no one was telling, I feel like 100 years ago, no one was telling you can't just dig anywhere and do something crazy like this. And now you have to go through a bunch of permits.
that's true. And I think that's one of the reasons why Minecraft is as popular as it is people yearn for that era where you can just go out and do things. Uh, and I certainly do. And but fortunately, with the proper permits and the proper approvals, I am able to do this. So I'm happy with the time that I live in.
Nice. Anything else you want to point out in the tunnel here? I'm fascinated. I can't believe I got to like. This is great. I get to talk to people that have tunnels like this. I get to watch you on the internet, and I get to ask my questions. That's all I ever wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. We've got the rebar extending out from under these walls, and it's going to be underpinned with the staircase that's going to get poured. And then after that, I need to form and pour the ceiling. So that's what the virgin bedrock looks like. And there's a lot of interesting layers of geology from red siltstone to hardened hornfells, which is layers that have been heated and pressurized and formed into a much, much harder rock. And then more siltstone, and there's layers of gray clay as well. So that's one of the interesting things about digging under the house is seeing the geology, because every layer you go down, there's something else to see.
So you mentioned earlier you want to store things in the tunnel. What do you want to store in the tunnel?
It's a great root cellar. Can store potatoes and carrots and food because it's all year long. It's 59 degrees under here.
And then, what were you like as a kid? How did we get here? How did we get to adult engineer everything, Kayla?
Well, I loved engineering as a child, and I grew up in an area where there was a lot of snow, and I built tunnels in the snow, and igloos, and castles, and walls, and we grew up in the countryside, so there was a lot of opportunity to go out and play and cut trees and branches and make them into things, craft them into things. And then moving to the city, which I have to have a career, I don't have a lot of that freedom and flexibility, so I'm finding that underground instead.
Do you find, so you've mentioned Minecraft already, but do you feel more satisfaction doing Minecraft in real life or in the game?
Slightly more in real life. Because to physically, it takes a lot longer, right? That's the satisfaction of Minecraft is it's fast. You don't need to wait for things to take shape. You don't need to wait for concrete to cure. You just place it and it's done. But it is wonderful having something that you constructed with your own two hands and be able to go in it and interact with it, which you can't really do in a computer screen.
Do you think you would be here in this tunnel right now if Minecraft didn't exist?
Probably. I found out about Minecraft when I was researching tunnel engineering technology years and years ago before I started this project, and I kept coming up with Minecraft. And I'm like, what in the world is this? It's this blocky game where people dig in the ground and they craft things and they gather resources. And I thought it was dumb when I first saw it, and I was irritated because I'm looking at mine carts and rails and ore movement techniques, and everything would come up Minecraft all the time on Google. And I was getting irritated, but then I got intrigued and I downloaded it and I was like, this game is awesome. This is everything I would ever want from a computer game. And this is everything I'd want from real life as well.
How thick is the ceiling above you right now?
The rock?
Yeah, like how far up does it go from where you're at right now?
Probably 15 feet.
15 feet underground right now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah, the bottom, well, actually, it's more because that's the house is on top of that. So it's 15 feet up. And then you have the slab of the house. And that's already 3 feet below grade.
Speaking of the house, I just remember that you had mentioned before that your house might or might not be haunted.
There have been hauntings reported in several rooms in the house, yes.
Is that where are you trying to get away from them by digging deeper, getting away from the ghosts?
You could say that.
What do you want people to know about your lifestyle and your channel?
Yes, so the main thing that I would like for people to take away from my channel is we live in an age of specialization where you study for a particular career and you work in that field. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but it's very specific. It's just in a narrow area of possibility. And there's a lot of things that we can do outside of that on our free time to explore our interests in things that are maybe even outside like normal hobbies like golf and horseback riding and fast cars and stuff like that, and just go out and try something different. Maybe you might enjoy it.
Yeah, get out off the golf course or the basketball courts and start digging tunnels in your house, start building castles. Kayla, thanks for coming on. That was super interesting. I've been wanting to ask these questions forever, so I really appreciate it. Good luck on your tunnel. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. We're going to be doing a lot more of these, talking to interesting people, asking the questions that I'm interested in. So please let me know via YouTube or Instagram or hopefully Discord in the future what you want to see, what investigations into interesting figures online or in real life are. I'm willing to interview anybody. Yeah, so let me know. We want you guys to be a part of it. And thanks for watching.
You never hear what the old man say. Man, you know, be smoke no ganja down